Hi there, my name is Carmen Acton, and I am the mother of Dr. Donald Acton. And I just have a story to tell you that happened when Don was 7 years old. It all took place, and how my life was saved through chiropractic. When I was just about 37, I had a very bad fall. We were walking out of a high school from a Youth for Christ meeting, and there was a lot of cement steps down the way, and I had high heels on, and somehow I hooked my heel. I'll never know why, but my legs went straight out from under me, and I just plopped down right on my spine, right on my cedar, right on the cement steps. And I remember it very clearly. I couldn't move, and we were with a bunch of teenagers. My husband said, "Well, get up." But I said, "Marion, I can't move. I can't move my legs." So he just let me sit there for only a few minutes. Then I realized, well, I could move them. And so they all helped me get up, and we went home, and I went to bed feeling, well, I knew I'd fallen, but it was okay. And that was a Saturday night. And Sunday morning we got up to go to church, and Marion was getting the kids all ready. And I got out of bed, but I was completely bent over from the waist. And I said, "Marion, I can't go to church. I cannot even straighten up." So he got the kids ready, and they went to church. That was Sunday morning. By Wednesday, I felt okay. I could straighten up. The effects of the fall, to me, were completely gone. And I went on about my business, never even thinking of that fall at all. Just about 2 years later, could have been a little bit earlier than that, but it was almost 2 years. And I started getting sick, very sick. Of course, not relating it to that fall at all. I didn't have a clue. What had started with a pain in the pit of my stomach. We were at Bible Club camp that week, and I really related it to because we were eating a lot of different food at Bible Club camp. So I thought the pain in my stomach was from that, but the pain never left. And I just slowly got so bad that I was desperate, because I had 4 children to raise. And so I prayed about it, and I finally decided. I do read my Bible, and I thought, I'm going to ask our pastor to anoint me. I had never seen that done in a church. I had never even thought of being anointed, but I wanted to live. I wanted to live and raise my children. So I called the pastor. As far as I know, he knew. He had never anointed anybody. I didn't know about it. And I called him, and I said, "Pastor, I'm very sick, and I want you to anoint me." And he said, "I'll be right out there." And he came, and he was a man that wasn't married. He brought his mother with him. And so he anointed me right away. We kneeled down beside the couch, and he anointed me. And after he anointed me, he looked up at me, and he says, "Carmen, what did you expect?" Well, that kind of threw me off guard. And I said, "Well, Pastor Wagner, I expected to be healed, but I know I'm not." And now, by this time, I want to tell you, I was very ill, and I literally thought I was dying. I didn't have much longer to live. And he said, "Well, God can heal. He doesn't often heal, but he also can do other things." And at that time, he held up his hand, the 5 fingers, and he said, "I want to tell you something, Carmen." First of all, he pointed to his thumb. He said, "God can heal. He does heal." And then another thing, he said, "Sometimes food heals." He said that. And then the third thing he says, "Chiropractic will heal." Well, that blew my mind, because I thought, chiropractic, what is chiropractic? I don't even remember what the other 2 were at that time. Chiropractor is what literally stayed in my mind. But I didn't have a clue what it was. So he left. We prayed together, and he left. And just 2 weeks later, my mother knocked on the door. Now, I hadn't seen my mother really for about 2 years, because she had had a mental and physical breakdown, and she only lived 40 miles from me. But she had gone to all kinds of doctors to get help. Most of them said she was mentally ill. One of them said she had cancer of the brain. She got all kinds of stuff. But anyway, she knocked on my door, and instead of answering like, "Glad to see my mom," I just looked at her and I said, "Mom, what are you doing here?" It was kind of funny now. And she just looked at me. She said, "Well, invite me in." So I invited her in, and at that time I had just fixed supper for my family. They were all in the kitchen sitting down when this all happened. And at that time, I wasn't eating. I cooked for my children, but I wasn't eating, and I will have to, I was skin and bones. I could not digest, nothing sounded good, nothing tasted good. I must have looked horrible. And anyway, I said, well, Mom, we're out at the kitchen table, we're all eating, just come on out and sit with us and talk to me. And so we went out, and she sat and talked to the kids for a little bit. And then she looked at me and she says, Carmen, you're very ill, aren't you? And I said, yeah, Mom, I'm very sick. I didn't admit to her that I thought I was dying, but that's what I thought. And she says, I want to tell you something. And so there she just sat down and just told us about, she said, you know how sick I was? And I did know how sick she was. And she said, I forget her friend's name, but anyway, she named that lady. And she said, she told me, she said, you know I've been everywhere, but she told me about chiropractic. And I started going. And she said, Carmen, I'm getting well. Well, it was plain to see that she was good. My mother looked good. I hadn't seen her look good for quite a while. And so, and I, chiropractor again just stuck in my mind. And of course I knew what chiropractor she was going to at that time. And so I made an appointment right away. I thought, I got to get there. So I went, the doctor went up and down my spine, and he said, you're a very sick woman, aren't you? And I said, yes, I am very sick. And he adjusted me. Whew, I never will forget how it just affected my whole body when he adjusted me. That was I believe it was Friday, as I recall, it was Friday. And so, we went home, my husband took me, my mother wasn't there, of course. So we went home, and nothing had changed at that point, nothing at all. I felt no different. So we go to bed, and that was I got to get this straight. Saturday, I believe, when I woke up, I was sicker than I had ever been. And in my head, I'm thinking, it didn't help. I am going to die. And but Sunday morning came. It's a different story. I felt like going to church. And I did. Now, I didn't feel real good, but I felt like going to church. And so we went. And all I can say, it was just, started going to the chiropractor, of course, and then eventually my mother started working for the chiropractor that was under him, and then he moved to another town, and my mother followed him, plus went to work for him. And so it just became a lifestyle with us. We went to the chiropractor. And then I can remember it was shortly after we started going, and I was gaining my health back, and I knew I was gaining it back. I thought, we all should be going to the chiropractor. And so, excuse me. So we started making, I don't know if it was weekly or bi-weekly, I don't remember how often we went, but I can remember when all the kids hopped in the car and we went off to have adjustments. I can remember that. And I'm sure Don remembers it too. He was just around 7 years old, I believe, at that time. Well, no, he'd be older because I think I started to the chiropractor when he was 7. So he would have probably been around 9 at that time. But anyway, we became a chiropractic family, and that's where we are today. I do not doctor medically at all. I take no medication of any kind. And I don't say that braggingly. I say that humbly. And I am so thankful that for chiropractic, and basically that God led us into it. It was Him. He was the one, when we prayed, He was the one that opened our heart and eyes up to chiropractic. And I will forever be grateful. And I'm so grateful that my son Don, Dr. Don Acton, is a chiropractor. We almost take great pride in that. I have to admit that. But we're very proud of him. He's helped so many people that it's just hard to believe that our son has done that. But he's been a chiropractor, I think 50 years ago, especially that's when he decided that's what he wanted to be. And at that time, I didn't know Don had decided to be a chiropractor. I did not know that. But when I knew he was going to become one, I was very thankful. And thankful to the Lord. And our 3 sons are chiropractic minded. Our daughter is not too much, but hopefully she will come to that too. So Anyway, I'm just so thankful that my son Don was able to help thousands of people. He has. And that's a blessing for his dad and me.